guys, this is Dr. Callahan for week 17 Wednesday for Algebra 2, Semester 2. How are you guys doing? Go ahead and pause the video and answer the following 3 questions for your warm-up log. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started with today's stuff. Your warm-up log is going to be worth 300 points. It's due on week 19 Friday. So today is actually week 17. Next week is 18. And then you have week 19, which is going to be on that 27th right there. So that is when your warm-up log is going to be due. So just keep that in mind. So if you look at your warm-up log and there's like a bunch of boxes or empty boxes, make sure you just go to the YouTube channel, pause the video at the very beginning, and then just complete those boxes. So you should have 100 of those boxes done, and you'll have 300 points going to your warm-up week 19 Friday. Your last day to turn any of your missing assignments in is June 2nd, which is a Thursday at 2:25. And that's because on Friday, it's the start of your final week. You guys are in third period, so your final is going to be on June 6th, which is that Monday at 7:45 in the morning in this class. Keep in mind your safety grade is at 75%. You need to have a 60% after the final to pass this class. And then we're going to review your study guides between week 18 and 19, so that's coming up as well. On the day of the test, you need the following items: a TI-84 calculator, answer Scantron, answer sheet, number 2 pencil, a test book. There's a formula sheet inside your test book. You can write inside your test book. There's no additional scratch paper. And then no electronics. After you guys are done, you just bring your test up and I'll grade it with my computer. And that's basically it. So your scoring in Infinite Campus for your grades is from 5 to 10. You guys know exactly how that works. Today is Wednesday, so I will be updating your grades as well. So everything that you've done this week, it will be updated. If you take a look at your YouTube channel for Algebra 2, there are 78 videos, and so everything from last class that if you missed it was week 17 Tuesday is already up there. So everything that we go over in class, you're able to view and watch. If you're like, I don't have a warm up for a week 13 Wednesday, you just click on that. And there you go. There is the warm up. So that's all you have to do is just go to the video, pause it, answer the question, and you should be good for your warm up. All right, you guys. So if you were not here last class, which was on a Tuesday, this is what we went over. We continue using our calculators with logs. And yesterday, we actually did a few things that were a little bit more complicated because we also used properties of log to solve for x. Okay, so whenever you have something that's like 2 to the x power, we learn how to solve for that little exponent, which was a little bit difficult in my opinion. There was a lot of transitions and whatnot. So if you were not here yesterday, you definitely want to watch the video so that way you're not behind in class. And so that way you know how to use your calculator on the day of the exam and whatnot, because a lot of question on the exam is calculator related. The big difference between Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 is Algebra 2, it's like Algebra 1, a little harder, but you have to know how to use a calculator with a graphing calculator anyways. Today is week 17 Wednesday. Our objective today is to use properties to solve for log. So I'm going to do a little bit of notes, not a lot. And then you guys have 2 parts of your assessment. I have one that's going to be on a quizzes that you're going to do in class, and that has to be done before you guys leave because that's going to be the first part of your grade. And the second part is your Math Excel, which is on Wednesdays, and it's just 5 questions. I have an exit ticket for you guys. So the only thing you need to come up and grab is your TI-84 and also an iPad or a laptop if you need it. So come on up, you guys, and make sure you guys grab a TI-84. And if you guys want to grab a TI-84 as you're walking in class from now on, that's totally fine as well. All right, you guys. So with your guided notes, please go ahead and turn over to this page where it says log equations. Does anybody need a copy of this? I do have additional copies in case you need it. We're not gonna do a ton of notes on logs. It's just gonna be like maybe 4 questions. And then after that, I'm gonna have you guys take your assessment and practice with this. Does anybody need a copy of this? If you do, I do have extra copies. You're welcome to grab that as well. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right into this then. So there are 3 different steps solving logs. I'm gonna have you guys go ahead and read that on your own. And then the very last part is always check for extraneous solutions. You cannot have a negative number after a log. And I know you're like, really, why not? Just because. And if you don't believe me, you can go ahead and grab your calculator. And let's give it a try as to why it doesn't work. I mean, you can try it just to make sure. All right, so for those of you guys on Zoom, here's your calculator. And then if you just turn on your calculator right here, and then just hit log, you could put like -5, close the parenthesis, hit enter. And do you see how it says error? So trying this again, if you put log 0, it's also error. So you cannot have a negative number in there. Okay. On the other hand, is it possible to have a negative number with ln? So if you put ln and you put like a negative number, can't have a negative number with ln either. But with ln, you could, however, have it with ln 0. Just kidding. No, you can't. All right. So no 0, no negative number. They all result in error. So just keep that in mind, you guys. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next part then. Here we go. Let's go on to number 11. So for number 11, it's asking to solve for this. And I am actually going to go ahead and move this up a little bit so you can see a little bit better in class. So I'll move this up, this one up a little bit. I think we'll just go over 4 questions and we should be good. Okay, so for number 11, do you guys see how there's a log base 3 on both sides? If there's a log and they're the same base, you can just cross it out. And then immediately what you do is you're just gonna simply bring down the numbers in the parentheses. So the numbers I'm highlighting right now, you just bring it down. So you have 3x minus 6 equals 2x plus 1. And then it's just like solving a regular equation. So you know you're gonna minus a 2x on both sides because you always minus the smallest x to make sure that you get a positive x. Then you're gonna move the 6. So opposite of a -6 is a positive 6. And then you should realize that positive -6 cancels, positive 2x, negative 2x cancels, and then 3 minus 2x is just a 1x. 1 plus 6 is just a 7, and that is your answer, boys and girls. So then you have to check for extraneous solutions. You can't just assume that's your answer. Okay, so it takes you a little bit more work to do this. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna plug the 7 back in here to make sure it doesn't result in a negative number. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 minus 6, definitely a positive number, so no problem there. 2 times 7 is 14. 14 plus 1, still a positive number, so no problems there. So you know this is gonna be your answer then. If it does end up being a negative answer, then you know, nope, can't use that. And I'll show you one that actually does have a negative answer, so don't worry. All right, number 12. So we're gonna do the same thing over here. ln cancels, since both of them are ln, and you have an x squared minus 30 equals 6. Whenever you have an x squared, you gotta think about the fact that you move everything over to one side, so you have a 0 on the other side, and you're gonna factor. So, well, in this case, I don't have an x in between, so I probably don't have a factor then. Add the 30 on both sides. Positive and negative 30 cancel. X squared equals 36. And then how do you get rid of a square root? Opposite of a square is a square root. So x equals, it's not just 6, it's positive and negative 6. So once again, I got to check for this and make sure my answer is correct. If I were to put in positive 6 squared minus 30, is that still going to give me a positive number? Yes, it is. That's going to give me a 6. No problem. But what if it's a negative 6? That's still not a problem. Negative times a negative is a positive. Positive minus 30 is still a 6. So it's ln 6. So both of them are positive, no problem. There will be a time where you're going to have a negative, and in which case that is not your answer. Okay, so you can't use it. And on the test, they will have problems like that to kind of trick you guys. So you just have to be a little bit careful with that. All right, number 13. Let's go on to this one. For number 13, I see that there's a log base 7, log base 7. But then I see that there's a 2 right here, which is kind of messing me up. Remember, there was a formula where you can take the 2 and put it up here for the exponent. And that's what we're going to have to do. So we're going to do log 7 x squared equals log base 7, 121. You guys know that the log 7 are exactly the same on both sides. So naturally, you can just cross those out. So then what's left? I don't know about you, but I think it's x squared equals 121. So then to get rid of that square, opposite of a square is not a circle, it's a square root. I did ask that question for my Algebra 1 kids. I was like, what is opposite of a square? They're like, a circle. I'm like, no, you're totally missing the mark here. So x equals, what's a square root of 121? It's plus or minus 11. Now, you gotta check for extraneous solutions, ES, extraneous solutions. So if I plug in these numbers in there, do you see how if you do a log 7 with a negative 11, that is a big no-no, and it's not gonna work because remember, if you were to use your calculator to check to see if it actually does work, because the base is not 10, you have to do log negative 7 or negative 11 divided by log 7 and hit enter. What do you guys get? Do you see how this says error on it? So you know that does not work. So then negative 11 is not going to be your answer. So then the only one that does work in this situation is just going to be x equals positive 11. So if on the test you put negative 11, you would get that wrong. Okay, so if you put, there will be options where it says like A, x equals plus or minus 11, B, x equals positive 11, C, x equals negative 11, and then D, no solution or something like that. If you circle A, that will be incorrect. So you have to check, you guys, okay? All right, number 14. So for number 14, you have on the left side, log base 5, log base 5. So because they both have the log base 5 and it's a plus, remember you can rewrite it with a multiplication. So we're gonna change that to a multiplication. And how that's gonna look is we're gonna multiply it. You're like, what are you gonna multiply? You're gonna multiply the 4 and the x. So I'm just gonna write log 5 once, and it's be 4 times x, like that. So I'm gonna condense it. Equals to log base 5, 36. And then from here, you see how you've log 5, they're exactly the same on both sides. So you're just gonna cancel them. And then have 4x equals 36. And if I divide it by 4, x equals 9. But wait, gotta check to make sure it's correct. 9 is a positive number. So if I plug it right here for the x, it's still a positive log. So it's no problem. That answer is good. 2 more, you guys, and I'm done. Okay, so 2 more questions and we're done with solving logs. Remember, when you guys are writing the notes, you can use your notes on your Math Excel. You can use it on your quizzes. You can use it on your quizzes and assessments for class on Wednesdays. You can't use it on the final, unfortunately. Yeah, I wish you could, but unfortunately you can't. All right, number 15. So 2 more questions, and then I will have you guys do the quizzes to practice, and then have you guys get on to the Math Excel. All right, so let's take a look at number 15. So for number 15, do you see how there is a log base 2 on the same side? There's one right there on the left side. There's another one on the left side. And just like the last one, you're going to change them from an addition to a multiplication. Okay, so we're just going to write it once. So log base 2, and I'm going to have x times x plus 2. So just write it once. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you want to go ahead and set it equal to log base 2 x plus 6. You have the same log base 2 on both sides, so naturally you can just cancel those out. And then you're going to set the orange highlights parts equal to each other. And so that means if I distribute this x into the parenthesis, x squared plus 2x equals x plus 6. This one, you have an x squared and an x. So most likely you would have to factor. Okay, you can't just square root it, because square root works if it's just x squared. But this one has an x, so you can't do that. So let's move everything over to the left side. So then I have x squared, 2x minus x is a positive x, minus 6 equals 0. Draw your little parentheses. Put down your little x's in the front, and you're going to ask yourself, what times what equals negative 6? Oh, when I add those two numbers together, it gives me a positive 1. So as you're running the numbers in your head, I know that 6 times 1 is 6, but there's no way 6 minus 1 is ever going to give me a 1. So I think about the next number. How about 3 and 2? Yeah, that works. But how do I make it a negative 6? But then when I add them together, it has to be a positive 1. So then I think about it and I'm like, well, 3 has to be a positive, 2 has to be a negative. So it's kind of like a little puzzle with conditions. And then when you set them both equal to 0, opposite of a positive 3 is a negative 3. Opposite of a negative 2 is a positive 2. And whenever you have answers, you have to check for extraneous solution. One of them is going to give you a negative number. Which number will give you a negative number inside the log? Well, it's not 2, because 2 plus 2 is 4. But negative 3 plus 2 will end up giving you a negative 1. So this answer right here, if I plug it in here, will give me a negative. So that's a no-go. So cross that out. That's not your answer. So the only answer that will work is x equals 2. And you bet they'll definitely have questions like this to trick you guys, but you guys are a smart group of kids and you're not going to have them trick you. All right, let's work on the very last one and then we're done. And actually, since I have written too much over here, I'm just going to go ahead and create this on a separate slide. There we go. So I have more space. Number 16. So first thing I notice is there's a 2 right here. Remember how you can take that and just put it as an exponent right there? And also I see that there is a 1/3, which I don't like either here. I'm going to put it as an exponent right there. So what that will look like for you is it is going to look like, oh my gosh. So I did a whole entire thing. I'm so sorry, guys, on Zoom. So I did the whole thing with a calculator on there. So if you guys totally did not see number 13, 14, pause the video, take a look at it. Pause that video for number 15. Okay, now we're number 16. So I'm going to move those up. So I have log base 6, 4 squared. That's how you write it. And then the next one's minus log base 6, 8 1/3 equals log 6x. Okay, do you guys see how there's log 6 on the left side, which I'm just gonna write it once, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take those two numbers and multiply them together, okay? So I'm gonna put log base 6, 4 squared is 16, a to the 1/3. If you're like, oh, I don't really wanna have a bunch of exponent, you just put 8, the little exponent sign, 1 divided by 3, enter, and do you see how it gives you a 2 right there? So make sure you do that on your calculator. And then you're gonna multiply that by 16. So just times it by 16. And so you should have 32. Okay, so then I'm gonna rewrite this and hold on, I remember this time. Let me go back to here. All right, so then I'm gonna go ahead and rewrite this as log base 6, 32 equals log base 6 x. You should be able to see that you have log base 6 on both sides. You know you can cancel them, and this is pretty simple. Then x equals 32. But you got to check for extraneous solution. And I can see that in my original equation, the only one that has an x is this one here, and 32 is positive, so it checks out. You're not going to end up with a negative. All right, you guys, that's basically it. Oh, you know what? I totally made a mistake. Hold on a second. Here's a mistake I made. Do you see how this is a minus right there, you guys? Because before we had a plus, so you multiply, right? What do you do when there's a minus? You don't multiply. What do? You divide, right? And here I put 16 times 2, and that's not right. It's 16 divided by 2. So what's 16 divided by 2? It should be 8. That was my bad, sorry. So x equals 8. And so it's typical. I mean, it's easy to kind of like forget what you're doing, like especially with the plus right here. You're like, okay, I'm gonna bring the 2 together, but it's be multiplied. And then I just totally didn't see that there's a minus right there. So if you make those little mistakes, sometimes you're welcome to go back and just change them quickly. Okay, so next what I'm gonna do is I am gonna have you guys go to your quizzes. All right, and so we are gonna go to, so with your cell phones or your iPads, I am going to, I'm gonna just try to sign this for you guys. So for those of you guys who are on Zoom, you have access to this as well. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna go to joinmyquiz.com and then insert the following code. So go ahead and do that. And if you're like, I prefer a QR code because I totally get it. Because everybody uses a QR code nowadays. I can go ahead and make that happen as well. Just give me 1 second. And so Wednesdays are your assessment days. And so that's what you're going to be using as your assessment for today. I also have the QR code right here. So if you prefer to use that instead, I will have that done in like a mere moment. All right, so go to joinmyquiz.com 26566477, or you can use the QR code and then go ahead and get started on your quizzes. Make sure you guys use your real name so that way I can give you the credit for this. And so that's what I'm using for your assessment today. Okay, it is 20 questions and they're multiple choice. All right, so happy working while you guys are doing that. I'm going to go ahead and update your grades in class. And for my friends on Zoom, the very last thing you guys need to do is for your exit ticket. And so your question is right here. Your QR code is right there to access the Padlet. And that's all that you have to do today. All right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care. I'll see you guys next time.